His name's Rhapsody. My name's sneakyteak, and welcome back for another week of Ladder Streak. Coming at you live from Act 4. Teak, what? Teak, what's going on? Unfortunate technical difficulties this week. Because of some recent OBS trouble on Rhapsody's side, all of the hotkeys got rebound, and when we started the recording, this recording did not start. But we figure something's better than nothing. We wanted to get you in here. We wanted to show you this run because this run is pretty hilarious. And so in the vein and spirit of the speed run, this is as speedy as they get. You only get Act 4, okay? This is the cream of the crop. Act 4 with the decks that we've built up over the last hour. So please enjoy the speediest week of Speedy Ladder Streak that you've seen so far. Rhapsody diving into the Act 4 Elite fight. Looking upon a deck full of options, goes ahead and gets an apparition online. An apparition online? It's Ascension 1. Where there are one apparition, there are surely 5 to follow. We already know something about Rhapsody's deck. Producing 21 poison there on the first turn. Is this the plan? The stratagem? Looking at a very overcosted Apotheosis, opts instead to land that Corpse Explosion. That is looking like a lot of damage, baby. But will it be enough? Unfortunately, doing so leaves Raps in a position with no energy. Can he draw a free apparition? No, but can dual cast a Corpse Explosion? Question mark? Oh yeah, baby! We take these. That looks like a dead set of enemies. Thanks about the acrobatics. Ultimately opts to do it. 26 cards with a Snecko Eye. This is a very, very fast cycle indeed. Picks up another strawberry. 43. Sends it straight back. You know, if you eat a strawberry enough times, you become a god. That's the truth of fruit. PSA. Thou shalt not re-eat thine fruit. You should not recycle the fruit. It's for eating one time. Spire's a special place. Rhapsody offsetting the Beat of Death damage here, using the Bird-Faced Urn, which has been a huge part of this run, taking advantage of that heal to basically deny the need for basic block. Holds on to an Apparition and a Caltrops. Love to see that early well-laid plans in order to deal with whatever the heart has to say. Looking at the Neutralize and thinking like, maybe, is this a round to eat? Should I hold the Apparition? And I think that it's a clever consideration. This turn is survivable, whereas the next turn may not be. Goes ahead and finds that Piercing Wail and makes it into an easy choice. With the Caltrops online too, it's going to be taking zeros and making big money here for Rhapsody. Holds on to the wound. Don't want to redraw that sucker. 5, 10, 15, 60 is the gold number that's up there. 63 at the end from the Mercury Hourglass coming in, so a solid turn of damage. And there's that Wraith form. 5 turns of intangibility, not enough. How about 3 more? Rhapsody in it to win it here. Having trouble, though, finding and getting online all of the poison, which is the maximum damage mechanism anticipated in this fight. And so now thinking, is it time to just go ahead and Corpse Explode Catalyst straight up? Honestly, not a bad choice, too. With 2 Catalysts floating around in the deck. Opts instead to get the Caltrops online, hold the Catalyst, and get a couple more rounds of intangibility online. I like that. This means intangibility's in place for this next cycle. Once again, staring down a face full of options. Sneaky Strike rolling in a little high. Sneaky Strike art cracks me up every time, man. Sneaky Strike rolling a little high, unfortunately. And thus will not be an option for creating more energy this turn, which would have otherwise been an opportunity to get even more Catalysts online. But Entropic Bruise into a Duplication Potion, looking at 117 poison and 10 Caltrops, the heart is as good as dead. It's just a matter of sticking it out for a couple more turns. Holds on to that Apparition to make sure that Raps can live through one more big turn of damage. 150 return fire, 120 at this Ascension. Now it's just a matter of what the swaggest way to go out is. Opts to play out that Doppelganger just to let the heart know who's boss. G freaking G, baby.
G, baby. Unfortunately, did run over the Hearts music there, so we're not going to hear that two thump in the background. Unfortunately, with this upgrade, we all get a little bit of a teaser. No, divert your eyes. You'll see that you'll see what happens at the grand finale. Oh no, I've spoiled it as well. TK rolling into the Spire Shield and Spear fight, which is going to be a perfect demonstration of the kind of thing that his deck has the capability of doing in this particular instance. Jumps up a hell of a lot of extra intangibility for himself as well. We can see the grand finale there in the opening hand, as well as a Purity, enabling the ability to open some space in that hand for it later. Terror to modify its damage up by 50, and a Wraith form here. We also see, importantly in Teak's Relic Bar, the Pyramid. The Pyramid has been very, very consequential through this entire period. It has given Teak the ability to hold and utilize the grand finales consistently. It's also important in terms of speed tech that he was using the Pyramid to be able to do that rather than well-laid plans. Well-laid plans, of course, asking you to make an extra commitment at the end of each turn, which, when you're playing a speedrun, is just too much time, frankly. You can barely afford it. Here, Teak deciding to evaporate a card from his deck, setting himself up for the deck choke that he is very likely to have to do at the very end here without another draw card. Does not have another draw card, so he's going to only play one card this turn, setting himself up. Oh, not one. No, oh, maybe this turn, maybe the next turn. Right, because there's the other turns in the future, of course. Missed those. With the 5 draw coming up next anyway, though, Teak does use the earlier turn to draw choke, and then this turn for a natural draw rather than the inverse of those two. Sets himself up a Caltrops, throws out a Skewer, leaves his hand in the optimal position to set up for the grandest finale.
Did I get him?
Sure,
I think I got him
as well. My man got him. Summit Fierce finds a strawberry here that I've left for him. It is still absolutely fresh. Ooh, looking for what he could send back to me that I might be able to take into the future, or that he would be able to therefore just remove from his deck. Decides he no longer really wants that deflect in there, has enough other tools that accomplish the kinds of things the deflect was added into the deck initially in order to be able to accomplish. Here are the potions coming out a little bit at the start of the fight. Obviously going to be waiting for a little bit more health force before throwing out the health potion there. That is to say, if that even happens to happen, the health potion in this instance being the regen potion by another name, obviously then freeing up the slot for an entropic brew that might give something useful. But man, it's hard to be more useful than what's currently happening in Teak's deck already. We see a skill pot, a weaken pot, and a flex potion pulled out of that. The weakness giving possibly the ability to ignore even more of what the enemy is doing. But hey, do you need to ignore what the enemy is doing when you are already generating the ability to ignore absolutely everything about the enemy, including their health bar? That Piercing Wail similarly pulled in this exact same turn as to what it was in mine, putting itself in a particularly good position. The Void actually providing a defense and then immediately losing it as well. You'll love to see it. That's the gigantic pickup as well of the medical kit to enable Teak in this position to play around some of the statuses that are going to be added directly to his draw pile from the heart, despite having the Pyramid, which would otherwise want to keep specifically the Wound in hand. Obviously, the Caltrops being a very, very particularly great aggressive tool for dealing with this fight when an enemy is going to try and hit you as many times as they currently are. We see it put in a hell of a lot of work on that turn, but it sets up, ooh, a little oddly here. We've got 9 left in the draw, so we're 2 turns at the absolute least away from our next cycle here. Unfortunately, not really holding that much draw in this deck, instead going for thinning. Now, you might say at this point, wow, thinning. You've both done that extremely effectively. Look at these very thin decks that have a very consistent archetype in them. I can't even see a single strike. Oh no.
Oh, I messed up.
Oh no.
Oh no.
It happens.
We can recover. We can recover from this, but it's truly terrible. Okay.
Unfortunately, in this position, the apparition in hand is ethereal, so it was not going to allow Teak to draw choke on this turn and get to the
I could have done it. I didn't even notice it.
That is okay. As a wise man once said, it happens sometimes, don't it?
We'll win anyway.
Exactly. With this many apparitions, how can you not? especially with those grand finales in a Wraith form in hand, allowing the modification of those ever upwards. Even the Phantasmal Killer, another important tool in this deck here, allowing the modification of them even further upwards. Again, the Terror already holding on to the heart. Terror has gripped this heart and will grip it for the remaining 94 turns. Should it happen to live anywhere near that length, it won't have the time nor the ability to in this instance. Teak generates more damage with that grand finale in a single turn, or with that grand finale turn in a single turn, than the enemy has the capability of dealing with in any sort of pattern. That Survivor here giving Teak the ability to get rid of that Tactician in hand, allowing him to play out enough cards to set himself up to perfectly have the ability to throw those grand finales in the next turn. So you might think, why are these decks so consistent? And also, both of you have the Pandoras in your selections here. What's happened with that? There's no relation between those two, is there? Well, guess what? It's a speedrun legal strat to use the Pandora's glitch to have absolutely no cards added to your deck after you pick it up, and instead completely remove all of your strikes and your defense. And as such, we exploited that in this run. We can see here the power that has been drawn from that. It has also drawn all of the color out of my skin as I have re-become Casper, the friendliest ghost. Logitech's software still really holding up over here on this side. That is A-okay. I moved into the afterlife and became Casper the Friendly Ghost as anticipation to meet the Corrupt Heart there, because damn, that Corrupt Heart looks like it is going to be working its way to the grave as well. Only 3 cards need to be played in the next turn. Oh, sorry, 3 cards? Yeah, only 3 cards need to be played in the next turn in order to free up the space in hand. The Piercing Wail gives Teak the ability to completely ignore the incoming damage from the enemy this turn, and uses a Blur. Picked up very
I should have Purity the Wraith form just to flex. I should have done it. I really should have. I should have done it, and I could have. I totally could have.
Yes, you're right. You need to add a little more flex into this deck that ends with 3 grand finales played against the heart on double damage against the Terrored Heart with a flex potion. GG.
The bloom falls down. G freaking G, Rhapsody. What a delightful run, top to bottom, and delightful art. I wish y'all could have seen it. You just have to believe me. Rhapsody's first ever Pandora's glitch in this run. Literally, I don't know how to do it, Teak. Can you teach me? Which is just beautiful. It's literally the simplest thing, too. You pick up the box, you go to the escape menu, you press abandon run, and then you hit escape 3 times, and boom, there's no cards in your deck. It's sweet. It's
just
sweet.
Sends them straight to the abyss, which is exactly where they belonged.
Straight to the abyss.
As we were on our way to the heart.
That's right. GG. I'm glad that we could at least share the end of it, man, because that run was sweet. I mean, like, we even said in the very beginning, we were like, well, you know, the difficulty is that the granddaddy run for Silent as a speedrun is to find a bunch of well-laid plans and just play them every turn. But how likely is that? That's not going to happen. We got to build real decks, and so we're picking up Deadly Poison and well-laid plans and stuff, and then boom, Grand Finale Act 1, boom, Grand Finale in Act 2 store, boom, Grand Finale in Act 3 store. If I had more money, there was the Dolly's Mirror, we could have been quad Grand Finale. I mean, what a dream.
I even saw one that I could have possibly passed over. Obviously, the card RNG would have had the ability to enable that in many circumstances where you are going to find a lot of grand finales out on the field as well.
Yep.
It was interesting as well because we were talking about, again, in the unrecorded part, about the...
you have to believe us. You have to believe. Yeah, it's like the Tenacious D song. This is just a tribute. I wish you were there. You got to believe me.
This is just a coda. But we were talking about the multivariant different ways that you can try and get a particularly fast run off the ground with this character. And Catalyst stacking is one of them, and Grand Finale stacking is another one of them, and we did each of them, just split, just completely
so different.
Diverged.
That's literally what I was going to say, too, because what we thought was going to happen is we were both going to pick up Blade Dance, Blade Dance, Blade Dance. Yeah. Because in the current patch of Slay the Spire, one of the most linear mechanisms at lower Ascension to just produce enough damage to win with Silent is exactly that. Blade Dance is just that good. Some Cloak and Daggers, you know, but we didn't see them, and then both of our decks totally diverged, which is kind of rare in these share seed situations, you know? Like, it's really cool that we ended up with such different decks, so just a genuinely delightful run, top to bottom. Really, really fun to play. My only wish is that I could have made it even smaller, so I could have demonstrated grand finale draw every turn. Because only grand finales and those apparitions would have won. I mean, it's enough.
Oh, yeah.
It's enough to do it.
If you could have Pandora's every
Boop, boop, boop.
non-rare out of the deck.
Boop, boop, boop. Boop, boop, boop. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you still have to live through the 4 turns against the heart, but if you can do that, then you're made in the shade, baby. GG. Back and forth strawberry a couple times. Oh yeah, and different main relics too. Snecko Eye and Runic Pyramid. Very divergent runs. Really cool.
They went really, really far away from one another here. It's good at the very least that we could bring in Dakota. Unfortunately, as Teak mentioned earlier, the OBS issues resulted in the unbinding of my hotkeys. So
Omega
hit the
rude,
button
dude.
and then start, and then whoo boy, it happens. But hey, those are now bound, so we're going to be able to see all of the defect speedrun, which will actually, if that's successful, make this experiment in the ladder streak the first successful full season of the ladder streak in terms of completion of all of the planned rotations.
Yeah.
We'll be able to have a look at that.
Although they've all been successful in terms of achieving joy percent and learning. But yes, actually winning an A1 to 20 ladder is, it turns out, exceedingly difficult and unlikely.
That's why I had to immediately tag to the end in terms of completing the rotations of the characters rather than...
Yeah.
Because Teak, actually, no, what I want to say at this point is everything we've done previously are failure, abject failure in every single...
You and I have been working together for over a year and we've never made a single damn good thing. Just been absolutely spoiling the broth every week.
My approach towards making content is if I make enough of it, law of large numbers, one of it won't be bad, you see. So if we make this series long enough, we'll get to the defect episode that is going to happen in a fortnight's time. Until then, though, my name has been Rhapsody. His name has been Sneaky Teak. Hopefully you've been enjoying yourself.
No, it's Rhapspeedy.
My name's been Rhapspeedy. His name's been Speedy Teak. Hopefully you've been enjoying yourself, and hopefully we'll see you all
Respect the name.
next speed.